Hey there, future business owners. Today, we're diving into a world of buying businesses. But beware, it's not all smooth sailing. I've sold a lot of businesses, and I'm here to share some mistakes or traps that you need to avoid to make sure that you stay out of the poorhouse. Let's get started. Hi, I'm Trent. I've sold over 600 businesses, and in the last 5 years, I've been named the #1 business broker in the country every single year for the most closed transactions. And I make these videos so that I can share some of the things that I see happening out there in the business world so that you're better educated and know how to buy and sell a business. Framework number 1, beware of the deal that's actually too good to be true. The first thing you should be asking yourself when you look at buying a business that claims to make good income and the price seems to be low is this: why has no one else purchased this business? If the deal is so good, why isn't a competitor buying it, or a family member, or a friend of the seller, or an employee, or another franchise owner if it's a franchise? You get the idea. Now, don't get me wrong, there are lots of deals of a lifetime out there that I see every single week. But you need to ask yourself, why are you the lucky buyer? And you need to have a good explanation for why no one else is buying it and you've come across this deal. Framework number 2, beware of buying yourself a job unless you specifically know that up front. Here's the key. There are many small business owners that make $200,000 or more that have a great quality of life and are quite happy with their business as it is, but their business is typically dependent on them. In this case, there's nothing wrong with this, but you need to know how dependent the business is on the owner before you get involved. Here's the great thing. If you find a business that's dependent on the owner, you can pick it up for a lower multiple. Get in and over time build the systems, processes, and procedures to make it an absentee run or at least semi-absentee run business and either keep it for the cash flow or sell it. Framework number 3, beware of a business that from a financial standpoint just had their best year ever. COVID had some wonky effects on business. Some did fantastic, some got killed. The key here is to base your offer by factoring in 2 important things. Ideally, a 5-year weighted average as well as a trailing 12-month financial statement. This helps ensure that you don't overvalue or undervalue anything due to COVID and its effects. Framework number 4, beware of a short lease without options to extend. I'm selling a huge trampoline business that nets over $1 million per year. The lease expires in 2 years with no options to extend. Here's the challenge, and we didn't find out about this until after taking the business to the market. The landlord has an offer to sell the entire complex to a developer for a multi-rise apartment building, and he does not plan to renew any tenants. He will make more money selling to a developer than keeping it and collecting the rent. So guess what happens to the business and its value? The business becomes worth nothing more than asset liquidation value. In theory, he killed the valuation and the retirement plans of the seller because of this lease issue. Framework 5, beware of the unreasonable seller. I deal with this all the time. Ideally, a good business broker should stop an unreasonable seller from ever even going to the market. But let's be honest, not all good business brokers are doing their job. But sometimes there are unreasonable sellers that end up listing the business for sale by owner or with a business broker who's not doing their job. And by unreasonable, I'm mostly referring to their asking price. Here's what I tell my buyers. We can pay an unreasonable asking price if the seller is going to be flexible on the terms. If they're not flexible on the terms, then the seller needs to be flexible on the price. If you find a seller who won't budge on price and terms, it's going to be a challenge to work with them and actually get through the arduous process of closing the transaction from start to finish if they're so stubborn from the beginning that they won't work with you. So here's the key. Find a flexible and motivated seller. Life becomes so much easier for you in getting the transaction closed. Framework number 7, beware of the sellers who tax returns that don't match their profit and loss statement. Now, let's be honest here. Almost no small business owner have tax returns that match perfectly to their profit and loss statement. I'm not worried about the small stuff. I'm referring to the huge variations in financials. I can't tell you how many times the profit and loss statement shows the business nets $300,000. And when I look at the tax return, it shows a totally different set of numbers, and the business only nets $30,000. Remember, a bank will only work with the seller's tax returns and will accept minimal and basic add-backs. If you're not familiar with what add-backs are or which ones are acceptable, get with a business broker. They can help educate you on what to look for. Framework number 8, beware of a business that doesn't own the customer. I've sold a lot of Amazon FBA businesses as an example, and here's one of the biggest challenges. As a seller, you don't own the customer. In fact, Amazon doesn't even give you the real customer's email address or phone number. Amazon owns the customers and does not want you knowing who they are or trying to contact them outside of the Amazon platform. Framework number 9, beware of a highly skilled business unless you are highly skilled in that same industry and have direct or indirect industry experience that can be transferred over to operating that business. I get calls all the time from buyers who say they are open to any industry. Industry agnostic is what they say. While I appreciate the intention is to buy a good business, it's not a good idea if they have no experience buying, operating, running the day-to-day operations of a business that they have no experience with. Let me give you an example. I have a hugely profitable neurological business for sale. It's not a good idea to buy that type of a business unless you have reasonable transferability of skills to operate it so that you know how to operate that business and how to identify growth opportunities or potential problems before they're too late. Buying something outside of your wheelhouse is a huge risk, and I usually don't recommend anyone buy a business and just hope they learn as they continue to operate the business. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a business, feel free to reach out to me. I'll walk you through the process from start to finish to make sure you know exactly what to look for, whether you're buying or whether you're selling, so that you can get your transaction completed and across the finish line and walk away celebrating a good deal.